Okay, so living rent-free, it sounds kind of impossible, right? Like something you'd only dream about. But we're diving into these notes you sent. Living rent-free in 2024. Creative strategies to save money. And honestly, I'm already wondering why we haven't done a deep dive on this sooner.
Right. It's crazy how we just accept this huge expense. Like it's just a
Yeah.
given. This document really makes you rethink the whole idea of housing.
Totally. And the first thing that jumps out at me is how many of these ideas involve owning property, which might sound intimidating, I get it, but stay with me here. Remember that spare room you've been meaning to turn into a home gym?
Oh, yeah.
This document says it's time to think Airbnb.
Makes sense.
Thank
That's a
you.
classic for a reason. Short-term rentals these days can bring in some serious cash. Probably enough to cover a big chunk of your mortgage, if not all of it.
Exactly. And the document even takes it a step further with this house hacking thing.
Oh, yeah, house hacking. That's a popular one.
Right. So tell me more about that. Buy a multifamily place, live in one unit, and rent out the others. So you're basically becoming your own landlord.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think, Ago? Brilliant or a recipe for disaster?
I think it's all about your comfort level.
Yeah.
You know, house hacking can be amazing. You build equity while living rent-free. But you got to be ready to deal with all the landlord stuff. Tenant issues, repairs, the works.
Okay, so maybe not for everyone, but what if you're someone who just wants to ditch the city and get away from it all?
Escape to the wilderness.
Exactly. Who knew you could score free housing just by being a campground host?
Right. I mean, it's a pretty sweet deal if you ask me. Trade a little bit of work for some peace and quiet, surrounded by nature.
Sign me up. Though that does sound like it takes a certain kind of person. Speaking of unique living situations, the document also mentions being a live-in property manager.
Yeah, kind of similar responsibilities there,
Hmm.
but maybe a bit less tranquil than being a campground host.
Probably a bit more going on, more people to deal with.
Exactly. Now, if you're really up for an adventure, there's always volunteering abroad, something like the Peace Corps.
Now that's dedication. This next one, though, sounds a little less intense. The document mentions this thing called WWOOFing.
Ah, yes, WWOOFing. It stands for Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms.
Okay, so what does that entail?
Basically, you worked on an organic farm in exchange for food and lodging. It's a really cool way to experience sustainable living and maybe even travel to a new country.
Wait, so you're saying I could learn to milk a goat in Tuscany and live there rent-free?
That's the general idea. Of course, it depends on the specific farm and what kind of work they need.
That's amazing. Though maybe something a little closer to home for those of us not quite ready to become farmers.
Right, of course. That's where the whole idea of alternative lifestyles comes in.
Right.
You've got RV living parking for free on BLM land. Minimalism at its finest.
I've heard of people doing that, living out of their vans and traveling the country. Sounds freeing.
What about this house sitting thing I've seen online? People actually let strangers stay in their homes for free.
It's true. It's not always free. Sometimes it's a small fee.
Yeah.
But the idea is you're looking after their home and maybe their pets while they're away.
So it's like a win-win. They get peace of mind knowing their house is being looked after, and you get a place to stay without paying rent. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can be a great way to experience a new city or even a new country without breaking the bank.
Okay, so we've got leveraging property trading skills for shelter embracing alternative lifestyles. What other rent-free tricks does this document have up its sleeve?
Well, it gets even more interesting. The document's got all these ideas that aren't just about finding free housing, but using your skills to offset those costs.
Oh, okay. I like where this is going. Tell me more about these skills-based strategies.
So one that stood out to me was live-in flipping.
Live in flipping.
Yeah, you buy a fixer-upper, live in it while you're renovating, and then sell it for a profit.
Yeah. Okay, so you're living in a construction zone. Not exactly glamorous, but I can see how that could work. It's like those home renovation shows, except you're saving on rent at the same time. What kind of skills do you need for that? Asking for a friend who's currently Googling how to tile a backsplash.
Well, it definitely helps to be a little bit handy. But even if you're not, you can learn as you go, or even barter with people who have those skills.
That's right. The document did mention bartering. I have to admit, I kind of glossed over that part. It sounds a little too good to be true. Like trading my vintage vinyl collection for a month's rent.
Maybe not your vinyl, but think about what you're good at. What services you could offer. Are you a whiz at website design? Maybe your landlord needs help with their online presence.
Oh, that's a good one. Or if you're good with repairs, offer to fix things around the building in exchange for reduced rent.
Exactly. It's all about finding that win-win where your talents can directly benefit the person you're bartering with.
I love that. So we've got property skills. What about those of us who are maybe past our college dorm days and need something a little more stable?
Right. Well, the document does acknowledge that sometimes the most practical solution, especially in the short term, is moving back in with family.
Okay, so maybe not the most glamorous option. But hey, it's a roof over your head, and it could be a good opportunity to save some money and reconnect with loved ones.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for your situation. Speaking of which, the document also suggests looking into government assistance programs like Section 8 housing vouchers.
Oh, right. Those are designed to help low-income folks access affordable housing. Aren't there really long waiting lists for those programs, though?
It really depends on where you live,
Yeah.
the specific program. But yeah, sometimes there are wait lists. It's
Hmm.
still worth looking into, though, especially if you're struggling to make ends meet.
That's a good reminder. It's easy to get caught up in these exciting ideas and forget about the resources that are already out there. Speaking of resources, I saw that the document mentions a couple of websites, Trusted House Sitters and Care.com. What are those all about?
Those are platforms that connect homeowners with people who are willing to house sit or pet sit, sometimes even for free.
Wait, so you're telling me I could potentially live in a beachfront villa in Bali just by watering plants and cuddling a cute dog?
Well, it's not always luxurious villas in Bali, but you'd be surprised. People are looking for responsible people to look after their homes and their pets while they're away.
So it's a win-win. The homeowner gets peace of mind, and the house sitter gets to experience a new place without the burden of rent. Are there really that many opportunities, though?
More than you might think. And it's not just international destinations either. You can find house-sitting gigs in your own city or region. It can be a great way to test out a new neighborhood or just save on rent while you're working towards other goals.
Okay, I have to admit I'm intrigued. It sounds like a great option for people who are flexible and enjoy a bit of adventure. So we've covered house hacking, bartering, even the possibility of moving back in with family. What other rent-free avenues are we exploring today? We've covered some really interesting ways to rethink living expenses, but this last section of your notes, when free housing comes with a side hustle, it's like, are they saying just get a job?
Well, not just A and Y job. These are more like opportunities. You get a free or subsidized place to live, and you get a paycheck too.
Okay, now you're talking. Sign me up. What kind of side hustles are we talking about here?
Well, they talk about a few. For college students, there's the classic resident assistant, or RA.
Oh, yeah, the RA, keeping the dorm in check, planning events, and getting free room and board.
Exactly. You're basically getting paid to live on campus and help out your fellow students. It's a great way to offset those college costs, but it definitely takes a certain personality type.
Right. Not everyone's cut out to handle those late-night dorm dramas, so what about for those of us who are past our college days?
They mentioned becoming a live-in nanny or au pair.
Ooh, that's a good one. Getting paid to live rent-free, maybe experience a new city.
Or even a new country. It's a chance to travel, immerse yourself in a new culture, maybe even pick up a new language.
Right. But big responsibility, though, taking care of someone else's kids. Not all fun and games.
Exactly. You really got to be dedicated to it. Speaking of working abroad, remember that teaching English abroad opportunity?
Oh, yeah. That's always sounded amazing. Travel the world, teach English. What's not to love?
A lot of countries, especially in Asia and the Middle East, are really trying to attract native English speakers. Places like South Korea, Japan, the UAE, they often offer free or heavily subsidized housing as part of the deal.
Wow. So you're getting paid to travel, experience a new culture, and you get free rent. Where do I sign up?
Well, it's not always easy. Teaching can be tough,
Mhm.
especially in a foreign country. And being away from your family and friends can be hard.
Right. Makes sense. Not a free vacation. It's still a job with real responsibilities.
Exactly. And if you're okay with long hours and a unique environment, working on a cruise ship comes with free housing, meals, and travel opportunities.
Okay, that one sounds equal parts terrifying and amazing. Sipping cocktails on the deck 1 minute, dealing with seasickness and demanding passengers the next.
Yeah, not for the faint of heart.
So many options. But it seems like the key here is to figure out what works for you, your personality, your skills.
Absolutely. Do your research.
Yeah.
Be honest with yourself about what you're comfortable with.
Well said. We covered so much ground today, from leveraging property to trading skills, alternative lifestyles, government assistance programs, side hustles with free rent. It seems like there really is a rent-free solution out there for just about anyone.
Absolutely. The biggest takeaway for me is we don't have to be stuck with the way things have always been done, especially when it comes to something as expensive as housing.
I love that. So listeners, it's time to get creative. Think outside the box. Maybe it's time to brush up on that foreign language, dust off that passport, or finally embrace your inner campground host. Living rent-free might be closer than you think.